There you go.
Morning.
Scott, how are you?
Nice to see you.
Good to see you. Yeah, we never got movement on ordering trees.
I guess this is gonna happen today.
Yes.
Whenever you're ready.
Hey, okay, yeah. This is interesting. This is deep appendices. Did you read this?
Probably not.
Wait, because you're probably gonna
We're live.
stand.
Good morning. Welcome
Morning.
to the December 18th, 2024 Sweet Home Park and Tree Committee meeting. If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay, and let's do a roll call of the members.
First, I would like to welcome our new member, Scott Swanson. Oh,
Thank you.
thank you, Scott.
I apologize for not being here last time. A little
right.
miscommunication or just confusion.
Alright. So I will
The committee.
complete here. So Scott Swanson, and now I'm doing roll call. Sorry.
Here.
Matthew Bechtel,
Present.
Lena Tucker, present. Wally Shreves,
Here.
Nancy Patton,
Here.
Deborah Northern,
Here.
and Bob Dalton will not be here. He called in.
Thank you. Time reports, if anybody has anything for the last 30 days or before, please email that to Angela. And let's move on to public comments. Anyone want to say anything? Best looking Park and Tree Committee meeting you've seen yet this year? No? All right. And I don't think we have anybody online. That's a first. So let's move on to the Beautification Committee update. Would you have any update for us, by the way? Do you know of anything going on?
So
Oh.
Patty actually sent me the hours and stuff for the year, and she said she will try to kind of come back and be more active starting at the first of the year.
Okay.
So I have touched base with her a little bit, so just
Okay.
sending up the hours. So
Yeah, normally Bob gives us that bit of an update, and since he's not here, we're missing, so. Okay, well, moving on to the Weddell Bridge Mill City outreach. I still have not went to Mill City. I was told we're not in a big hurry because we have a bunch of projects that are still going on. So, that's just a simple trip up there and visit with them. So Lena and I are gonna go do that. I just need to coordinate with them. And my plan is I'm gonna drive up and get face to face with someone to get the points of contact and then coordinate a meeting. So,
And Chair, can I add, so Wally and I went to Rotary. Henry Wolthius asked us to come and just speak to Rotary about something, and we chose to speak about the bridge and just the campaign that we will be kicking off at some point. And there was actually pretty good interest in someone possibly sponsoring it if we could change the name. So here we have this another name thing.
The
So
name of the bridge?
yes.
Why is that?
just if they donated enough money, would they be willing to change the name of it? So haven't looked into it yet. It's not at the top of my priority list, but there was other people interested in helping with that project. I recently spoke we're going to be looking at an engineer. One of the first things that has to get done is, I think it's like determining the loads on it. And once the engineer does that, then we can start working on the some of the repair work. So,
And if you're concerned about the name, you might want to know the background to the name of it.
oh yeah,
It's named after a family named Weddell. And the only reason it's theirs, they moved out here, I think it was 1876. They moved down to the Hawley area. is where they lived at, Brownsville, Holly area. And at that time, the bridge was already in place out near Scio. And there was a farmer that lived there. I don't remember. I think it was Farmington was the name of the bridge then, and he owned the farm around it. And he used to actually use the bridge to house his cattle during bad weather. There wasn't a lot of traffic back then. So once he sold the land to the Weddle family, they moved in, hence the name of the bridge, Weddle Bridge. So it's not like the Weddle family actually built it, did anything with it. They just owned the farm that the bridge sat next to or sat within their property. So when they ask about that question, since I'd spent some time before we went there to try to get the background so I wouldn't look like a complete buffoon if they asked something, I had that bit of information. So when they asked it, I thought, yeah, the family didn't do anything but own a farm next to the bridge, and that's how it got its name. So it's not like the little bridge that's out here that was actually built by the school teacher and the school, and you know, it actually has a tie to someone. This other one's just the name of the farm people that owned the bridge area.
Yeah, and we didn't tell them yes or no. We told
No.
them that we would look into it. But that was an option, which could mean a lot of dollars if that's a
Mhm.
possibility. So we don't know what that looks like yet, but as we get into it, Rotary is interested in helping, possibly with the campaign. So that's another group that may be willing to help spearhead that. So, but we'll cross that bridge when we get there. So we just, no pun intended. I didn't even think about that. Yeah, thank you. But it was good. We weren't exactly sure what to talk about, and that ended up being probably the best thing we could have done because
Yep.
it got it all on their radar. So,
Good.
And additionally, I was telling them how hard it was to get money and how hard we fought for the Bandstand Community Center to get funding. And we just got totally rained on, and told them it was like nobody there knew anything about that at all. And Ivan Walthius asked, I said, we have renderings of the idea and everything. He said, could you send that to me?
Mhm.
He wanted to see it. So I thought that was a positive sign that
yeah, it was.
he said somebody might be willing to put a lot of money into that. And I was thinking, the Walthius Community Center. I'm
Yeah.
really happy with that thought process. So I don't know if that was his thoughts, but I got the stuff together and sent it to him.
Yeah.
Good.
And we'll swing back around with him also and
Yeah.
have a conversation with him. We will be getting, that gets down the road. So never mind, I'll talk about that later. Anyway, I just wanted to throw that out about Weddle Bridge, that Wally gave a good history lesson about the bridge, and I just talked about the campaign, and they all seemed very interested in it and wanted more information when we get to that point. So
Who decides if we're going to do that? How much weight does our committee have in that decision, or does that go to the
We
city
make,
council?
we just make recommendations that goes to the city council for approval.
Right, okay.
So we can
However
just
much
do a
weight we feel like
call.
we have is. And at some point, if we were really strong about it, if it was going to go in front of the city council, we would go there and present it, just like we did
Yeah.
for the community center
Okay,
that they supported completely, and then we'd still got no money for
Yep.
it. So,
well, and approaching it with having a little bit more maybe community backing
Yeah.
with the Rotary being willing to back may, show a little bit more support, and hopefully we'll see a better turnout when it comes to matching funds. So we'll see how that goes. We
So,
still have until the end of next year to get that.
so
complete.
question, they didn't really know anything about the Weddle Bridge needing help?
No, they didn't know about the bandstand.
Well,
They weren't aware of our,
the Weddle Bridge needing help, we're not kicking that off yet. That's
Right.
just something we've kind of
But I
under
mean,
our
when
breath.
you brought it up to them, they were unaware?
go ahead.
No, that
Um,
was a question.
yeah.
Oh,
No, because we haven't started the campaign, so they aren't really aware because we don't want to push it until we're done with the
Okay,
regular
well,
Sankey part.
My point I'm trying to get to with the newspaper guy sitting here, so it's not like it's.
Nancy, can you please use your mic?
I'm sorry, I'm coughing too, I just don't want to cough so bad. Anyway, we've had lots of things in the newspaper, lots of things on social media about, so I guess my question is, we're gonna have to just talk, how in the world are we gonna get more information out with all this stuff? Because there's been lots of publicity.
Well, when it comes to the bridge, that's what Wally and Lena are going to go to the Mill City and it's, from what I understand of their campaign, it was more community driven than it was city driven, which is how everybody got behind it, because it was more of a grassroots. It came from the community more than the city. So that's what they're going to go do, is find out the steps that Mill City took to get to that point. So until we really know what they did, it's hard to say what would be a best practice for us. So, which is why I think it's good to talk to them before we get too far into the process.
They were very successful.
Mhm.
So I'd rather take success and
Oh, sure.
run with it, or just modify it to fit our community and move forward from there. I think we'll have luck with it. Okay, moving on to the Arbor Day event. We've established the date.
Yeah, and I forgot to put it on your
I
schedule
don't
too. I
think I-
realized that this morning that I hadn't updated that schedule yet.
I think it's the 21st of April. Of course, that's a think. I know it's that week.
Did we do our minutes?
No,
Okay. Wasn't it in the minutes?
no.
No.
Well, it probably was, but we don't have it.
Yeah, it is in the minutes probably. But
April,
25th.
Huh?
a Friday?
25th.
A Friday?
No, or 26th. It's the end of April.
26th is a Saturday.
James.
Yes.
Yep.
I'm well
I
now.
put it on my calendar last meeting. Okay.
Yep. 26th of April.
I just forgot to update the
Yeah.
schedule I gave you guys.
Yep. And I don't think we need to do too much with it yet. We've,
Trees,
yeah,
tree orders. I haven't heard from
And I do have
any of you.
the sheet. I will talk to Cecily about budget. I have the list, so we'll talk to her about the budget. So,
it's pocket change for you guys. I still think it's pocket change.
We're just, it's getting to the time of year where stocking at the nurseries are kind of starting to get limited. So specifically, if we want some of those Akabono Daybreak cherries and at least one flowering plum to replace the Ames Creek tree there.
okay, I will tell her those are priority if we can do those, if we can't fund the whole thing, but I'll tell her those are a priority.
Dominic, I don't think you were here. We're looking at doing Sankey Park and finishing the cherry trees in that area where we were lining them out around. So that would also be a good tie-in to the start of work of the trail system, sidewalk and all that. So we can highlight something that's going to happen in April, because I don't suppose you'll start on that until dries out.
Specifically, there are 26 flowering plums left and 7 of the cherry at Blue Heron where we.
And we're
typically
wanting to
order.
plant these this winter, right?
And
yeah.
we would like to, for best chance of success and survival, let's try to get them in the ground here in January.
Okay. Takes care of Arbor Day. I think we're ahead on it this year for once, so that's a good thing. Let's move on to December meeting priorities, which is to take a look at what is the our recommendations for what the priority for funding is for city parks for the next year. Budget year. And as I stated at the end of our last meeting, I think a large portion of it will end up going to the phase 3 in Sankey. Does that sound correct?
Yeah, the deadline for that is December 31st, 2025. So, and I was going to give an update down below, but that, I have 90% drawings, should have 100% by the end of this month, and then a budget. So then I can relook at the grant and talk to OPRD about shifting things around in the grant. But they just sent me some questions and then hope to have the design done. So,
Do we need to do another presentation for it? That fund's already done, right?
yep, that one's done.
Yep. So for whatever it's worth, as I read through the entire parks master plan system and I looked at the city across the board, there seems the park that was proposed to be put in, well, I think it's approved by the council to do it, is the one down on 42nd, the new park. And there's nothing,
Osage.
whatever it is. Oh, yeah, 42nd Osage.
Mhm.
There's nothing down in that whole area of the town for all the people that live down there. I mean, when you just look at how the parks are dispersed. So it seems like that there's a segment of the city population that is underrepresented by parks. So if I was picking something to take a look at, on my opinion, that would have been that area. You know, finish Sankey, and then I don't know how much work that is to do that down there. Greg, you got? Yeah, the new park, we took out all the trees, did some cleanup. I think there was an idea to put in some paths and some minor play equipment.
Right, and I can probably let Angela chime in at any point, but it sounds like the grant funding for that didn't pan out for
Oh.
that park, right? And so the problem is there was money for the project, but no offsite work,
Right.
like roads improvements, sidewalks, water extension, sewer laterals for the, and so that funding, I think, is what's made that project difficult and why we shifted a little bit. Angela, you want to add anything to that?
No, that's what I mean, it's,
Yeah.
we have to put the infrastructure in first,
Yeah.
and that's the costly part of it. And
Right.
so until we have funding for that infrastructure part, we can't complete the rest of it. So that's what, in our general fund right now is pretty tight.
That's
So-
the reason. The general fund is really snug
Yeah.
right now.
So it's still on the list of things to do, but when
Right.
the cost of the infrastructure is what's kind of holding it up right now.
So just out of curiosity, has the city or anyone done any communication to the people in that area to let them know that the grant failed and that we're, you know,
I
it's
don't
on
know.
hold?
We'll have to touch base with, I'll touch base with the powers that be and see.
Yeah.
I don't know if anybody's reached out to them or not.
Yeah. I would just hate to tell them we're going to do something and then not do it and then not even tell them why. Because usually that goes over well. Not.
No, that's good. I'll verify that.
Yeah. It works really well with my wife, though. Just saying. She appreciates that when I do that.
But on that same discussion though, too, we will probably in the spring be starting to do some rough work, probably in the city park next door, right
Okay.
here.
Okay.
Storm drain, some, we have to control the water that's on the property. And so that has to happen. And then there'll be some rough paths put in with some, like we did in Sankey, gravel put down. And then eventually we'll get the funding and come back and do playground, sidewalks, those type of things.
Right. And we still have money for that playground, right? Somebody
Which one?
volunteered some funding for that?
I don't know if it's still available. I'll have to verify with the individual that was originally going to order it, but
Yeah.
that all happened during COVID, and
Yeah.
so I will touch base
Okay.
with the.
Anybody else? Thoughts?
I do. I think we moved too fast on all that stuff. Yeah, we did way too fast. Some of those things shouldn't have happened. I
Yeah.
thought.
Specifics.
So now we have to wait. But I remember when some of those people came from that area, came to city council meetings and shared their concerns and frustrations. So, and then they kind of got smoothed out. And then, so I don't know what they feel right now. I haven't talked to them. I used to go back down there and kind of see what they were doing, but I haven't been there for a while.
The ones who were really, really grumpy, I run into at the VFW. And I've talked to them there, and they're much less grumpy about it now. And the one guy actually told me last Sunday, I like to go there in the morning for Sunday morning breakfast. It's a great
Yeah.
chicken fried steak with smothered in gravy. It's healthy, no calories. But he said that he's actually noticed some reduction in the, I'll call it vagrant traffic in the area since it opened up. So he was like, I thought it would be worse, but it's not.
Well, and that's what we had hoped.
Yeah.
would happen so that we could show them that it might improve if that
Yeah.
happens. So that's good to know that
Yeah.
that is actually a result of it. So that's good
Yep.
to know.
Well, I remember Blair talking to us before about different areas of town where we don't have parks, where according to population and all that kind of stuff, where there has to be. So I can't quote anything he said, but I remember him talking to it. So we're on the right path,
Also,
not getting done.
the primary reason those trees were removed was actually fire break,
Yeah.
not for a park. So that primary reason has still been fulfilled.
I never heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
what
it was a project with ODF for a fire break.
But we're not going to talk about that because this is the Park and Tree Committee.
Right.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
is there a reason we didn't go over last meeting's minutes and,
Yeah, there was
Yes,
just an error.
Because I don't have them
okay,
for you.
oh,
That's why
I just was out of whack there.
I even knew the answer this time.
So I have a couple thoughts as I looked through the prioritization and the goals. I just keep coming back to kind of finish what we started. And so I think everybody pretty much agrees Sankey phase 3, let's move forward on that. And then when you look into some of the thoughts of the community from the surveys and the things that people wanted, walking paths, trails, a nature play area, some of that stuff comes up. That all fits within Sankey, especially, the forested environment up there. You could add in play areas to kind of create the nature play area. The splash pad seems to figure prominently, but I think as we've discussed with the cost of doing something like that compared to what Albany did, I believe, or Corvallis. Oh, we think we have problems raising money now. That's kind of,
It's a high level dream.
that's a very big dream. But, I think, we're meeting the needs of having areas in our community for people to, get out, experience some nature, the park atmosphere, family friendly. So Sankey is still my number one. And I still believe we should kind of work on improving the key parks we have with Northside. Still work to do out there. Northside could, we've talked about this before, fulfill the water access when we look at community wants and needs. Do some work to engineer a trail to get down to the river there, but it could happen. Ashbrook, that's just a nice little park and it kind of fits a need on the, what do we call that? Southeast side of town, I guess,
Yes.
when you look at the map of where things are. And that play equipment's pretty dated and there's, it has a basketball court in there. So, it kind of fills the sport play area need. There's benches, there's walking path in it. Strawberry is actually a really big area,
And
and
lots of
so,
potential, with lots of potential for
it does,
some builder in there.
and I guess I'm not a fan of cramming standard playground equipment into every park we have. Rather, let the park kind of figure out what the needs are. Strawberry is like a great area to throw the frisbee, throw the football. It's big, wide open space. I haven't tromped around in the winter. I know it's kind of wet.
I
You
was
know.
gonna ask you about that. Actually.
Yeah, and so, but for a summertime park destination, it's definitely a big wide open area for people to gather.
So Lena, if I
Picnic.
can add to that. So we are, because I was looking at, I've been looking at some different grants and one of the designs we had for Strawberry Park a long time ago that we're bringing back and looking at is creating a pond that we would be able to put a trail around, but it would also kind of be a retention pond because of all that water,
Yeah.
filter all that wetland water in there. So there are some designs for Strawberry that have been around and we've started talking about them again. Obviously, we need to finish projects that we already have, but that's one of the ideas for Strawberry Park is to create a trail system, have a nice pond in there with some native
Look at
species
that.
to help with that water
Yep.
that sits in there all the time. So there are some designs that are already done. We
That
just-
is in there. That's
yeah,
good.
So it's just a matter of catching up on what we have and then looking for funding to possibly, because that's something simple that we wouldn't have to put a playground in, just start with the trail system, because we've got to figure out what to do with the water. And so,
Yeah, I know at one time we talked about tiling and draining. My concern with Strawberry is that is such a dry, hard-packed site in the summer. We start changing water in the park proper. There's some neat trees in there. I don't want to affect our trees because we don't water them in the summer. I mean, they're long, well established in there. But yeah, a pond, nature path. I mean, that kind of fits kind of the natural experience. So
yeah, and that's not set in stone. That's
Mhm.
just designs that have been, I mean, literally since I was on the Park and Tree Committee, this is something that had looked at.
Mhm.
The design is still there. We've brought it back up and talked about it again, just to say if we were going to do something in Strawberry, and I brought it up, it's like there was some designs, we could take a look and see if those still
Mhm.
hold true. We're just not gonna pull the trigger until we get some of this other stuff done.
Yeah.
So,
So question, does the city plan on having a garden there, community garden again this year?
Yeah, that's still the plan. We expanded it, I think, by 2 boxes last year, and there's no plan as of this point to stop that.
Cool. People like that.
And those are easily accessible to the parking area and they're in a good area. So Clover is kind of a cozy little park. I know there was one of the options in here was to add playground equipment. Again, I caution about cramming playground equipment into every park. I don't think, yeah. And it's not a useful park again in the winter because it's got a little ditch running through it and it's again really soggy. You know, maybe it fits the need of more of a quiet, reflective park. You know, there's room for a couple more memorial celebration type trees. I know there's eventually thoughts of kind of rearranging where the old fountain was and the view and some of that. But Clover, you know, probably has a whole different little fit, especially if Strawberry becomes kind of
Yeah.
the active family park for that area.
Yep.
And
Clover,
then,
Clover's a nice park for people to see when they come into town.
Yep.
Yep.
And look up that way and it looks really nice.
yep,
The flowers that get put up there each year. When it's
Yeah.
all mowed, it looks really neat when you come into
Yep,
town
with
with
the-
the Sweet Home sign right there.
and the
at beginning.
bridge.
Yeah.
And the other thing is if you start cramming playground equipment into each of the parks, then well, shoot, you need a restroom and Clover just doesn't have the infrastructure really to support that.
Plus, I think it's too close to major streets for
Mhm.
kids.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it
And
definitely fills a niche for, like I said, kind of your
Sitting.
sitting, reflecting.
Yep.
It's good. You know, it's a pretty area up in there. And then we still have kind of our minor parks. We have walkabout, halfway,
Yeah.
evergreen. We haven't really revisited that. I mean, there's a I can't remember, it's a bench or a picnic table that's put back
There's a-
in there
there's
for
a
the
picnic
community.
Table at the back end.
Yeah, so that's
A
that kind of,
trash can and a
yeah.
dog dispenser thing at the front.
And maybe that's all that community needs up there.
Yep. And 1 3/4 trees.
We will look at those in the spring. I don't think they're dead yet. I think they had a hard summer. Then we have our trail system, which complements the park. And we've talked about South Hills Trail and its connectivity, you know, and that's probably something to spend some time in looking at how that trail fits in
Mhm.
accessing all our other parks. And then Hobart is kind of the untapped wonder for if you truly want an education nature path trail. Hobart kind of fits that bill.
Yep.
So, you know, I think we've nailed it in terms of what's in the plan. Probably just a little more time spent on some of the parks we haven't spent much time in, just looking at how people use them. And I know you've done that. I've done that when I'm out there. You know, what's What's the best fit for that park in that neighborhood?
Just curious, Sean, have you seen anything in any of the parks that would lead you to a thought process on what needs done? Because you spend more time physically in the park probably than all of us put together. At least all of us.
No. Actually, Lena hit, north side, we got some sidewalk to finish, and all the parks have a little maintenance that needs
Yeah.
updated but north side's the big one. Like I said, the playground at Ashbrook is very dated. But nothing
Okay.
huge.
I was just curious if you might have had some interaction with people or something that would lead you to a thought process. And I know I'm putting you on the
I'm
spot.
sure I
You weren't
have,
prepared
but
to think
nothing
about
comes
that.
to mind at this
Yeah.
moment.
Okay, no worries. Thanks.
Mhm.
Matthew, you had a thought?
Fruit trees, yeah. There's an apple tree and strawberry.
Hey, Matthew, I'm sorry to interrupt. Can you grab your mic?
I
Thank
can,
you.
Yeah. Fruit trees. So there's an apple tree and strawberry park, and if there's too much waste or a product is being created and it's attracting pests, Sugar City Gleaners will come out and actually glean the fruit trees for us. We just
Okay.
need to call them.
Okay.
So
Good
yeah,
idea.
Thank you.
You ever done that, Dominic? Yeah, no? Okay. Just curious.
yeah, and
Do they
Good
need
job.
pruned? If they were pruned, would they produce more? Are they?
yeah. Some community members have pointed out that they want more like fruit trees, things they can harvest in the park. So
It'd be nice if they harvested them then. 'Cause
Right,
The
uh-huh.
ones in Strawberry brought mass amounts of wasps.
yeah,
And I wanted to get them removed because you couldn't hardly walk around the park later in the fall, or, past when they fruit because, man, it was like a full onslaught.
yeah. Mhm.
Yep.
I've gleaned a little bit from there, so
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah. Yep.
Maybe even a sign, when the fruit is ripe, help yourself,
Yeah, that'd be good.
people
Yeah.
don't think about it, but it's
Yep.
their park, it's a public park, and
Could we put more garden boxes in the other parks? They were so popular. So coming down to the council. So
Believe it or not, we've actually had kind of a hard time selling all of the ones we currently have. So
Really?
we've slowed down on expansion, especially with Public Works had to put in irrigation and stuff. We haven't had a ton of issues, but we have had a few people go turn the hose on and leave it for a few days and
Oh,
then somebody catches it. And so there is a risk with just expanding exponentially. Where it is now seems to be about the right size for the need. We had 2 that were unsold this year,
Hmm.
even though we advertised it quite a bit. It worked out really well because we had some master gardeners from OSU. They were able to take over those 2 boxes and use them for their demonstrations.
That's good.
But we did have 2 that were unsold.
I just wonder if you had any that weren't up where all of the parks and the people are and had it back down in this area. Maybe a couple boxes at a park that people would really be able to use. That's just a thought.
I think it's a matter of irrigation and we can
Yeah.
keep it
I just
localized
meant
down there.
maybe you put it somewhere where there is water. Not reinvent the wheel, but
Other than Sankey and Northside and Strawberry where it is now, offhand, I can't think of another park that we would have immediate access without spending a bunch of money, but we can look at it for sure.
yeah, just a thought.
How much do those boxes sell for? A year.
Oh,
35.
we lowered it. I think it was $25 for a whole year.
Okay. Thank you.
Wow.
We also don't charge for the water. So that includes
Yeah.
the irrigation for the year.
Right.
Thank you.
So, Mr. Swanson, with all of your background and history here on the Park and Tree Committee, you have any park ideas or thoughts on it for this next year? I know you were prepared to communicate that today.
There is an apple tree at the north end of South Hills Trail, by the way.
Yeah.
Right, well, right there on Elm Street. Just FYI.
Yeah.
Right by the garbage
Well,
can.
my top interest is trails for
Yeah.
reasons that probably will be obvious if you ever see me running around town
Right.
with kids. But beyond that, I don't really have a whole lot to offer at the moment, although I, as over the last umpteen years, I've been aware of things that have been happening, having edited the newspaper.
Yeah.
And as you know, apparently, or as you're probably aware, my role has changed recently in a dramatic and quick fashion. So,
Yeah.
so
Well, I'll definitely be hitting you up then for a link between the South Hills Trail and Sankey Park. As that was something we've been looking at as a way to link those two together.
yeah, right now the kids run down 16th and they go down that little, there's like a little rough little stair step trail thing going down there, and
Yep.
they run down there.
Yeah.
We had one runner on the junior high team who was visually impaired, and we took her through there, but that was not a good idea. There's so many roots.
Right.
They're like, they stick up 3 or 4 inches out of the ground, and
Yeah.
she's like, I don't know if I really like this trail. I was like, yeah, I can see why. Yeah. But she made it,
Yep.
but anyway, but yeah, I can certainly offer perspectives along those lines.
Yeah, that would be great. Because we haven't had that,
Right.
directly, I don't think.
No,
Well,
I
except for
understand.
Deb, the rest of us aren't runners. He's the one
yeah,
out there clearing stuff all the time.
Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, yeah, there's and Quarry Park's got a lot of potential for
Yeah,
that sort of thing. So
right,
yeah, I've run out there with the kids many times.
right. Okay, thank you.
I forgot one.
Yeah.
Signage and wayfinding.
Oh,
Again, we've talked about that. It's in the plan. So we have these parks, and folks just might not know where they all are. I don't know how many people I've encountered that are looking for a dog park and they just think of Sunnyside. It's like, no, we have another one that's really nice, not very crowded. And I know with our signage on the main street through town, it's challenging with ODOT requirements. It's also cluttered. I mean, as you drive through town, your eyes caught looking at buildings and this and that. And, I'm not a street sign designer, but I don't know how you, without a flashing neon sign, hey, North Side, go this way, Sankey, go this way. I mean, our signage is kind of all mismatched, I guess, is how I would say it. So,
That outdoor center, which is kind of silly.
yeah, but somebody owns that, I
I
believe.
know.
yeah. So the other thing that's been
Yeah.
a really positive is the map.
Mhm.
And how many maps have
Lots.
we shoved into people's hands
Yeah.
at different events that people said, oh, wow, or they think they know where the parks are. And then you give them the map and they're like, oh. So I think keeping a supply of our park maps here at City Hall, having them at different events and venues, Chamber of Commerce.
Need to be upgraded. The map.
Upgraded.
Is Quarry Park on there?
Yeah, I think
I
Well,
don't think-
Quarry's not considered a park yet,
really, yeah.
Right.
so,
Yeah.
yeah, so that we won't be adding that as a park until that it actually is a park, so.
Yeah.
And then the one on Osage, not a park yet? Okay.
And City
So-
Hall next door, park,
Not
Not-
officially yet.
not officially, yeah.
So if we could just get more made. I take them everywhere with me.
I have a bunch still.
Okay.
They're in my office, so.
It's actually a shame when you talk to people that have lived here for, 30, 40 years that don't know where the parks are. I was a bit surprised. I'm way beyond a bit. As we've done this, I just can't believe people have no clue. Northside Park seems to be this hidden thing that no one knows about. So,
Not funny.
Yeah.
Well, unless you know how to get there, it's hard to find.
Yeah.
I mean, really, you know.
Yep.
I will tell you though, I live right near it, and anytime I drive past it, somebody's in the dog park.
Yep.
Every time I've been
Yeah.
there, so.
Yep.
So, which is good. So people are figuring out where the dog park is, so.
Yeah.
How far off of Highway 20? Well, let me rephrase that. How wide is the ODOT's control of signage along Highway 20? How far off the sidewalk is that, or how wide does that extend? So if you get a sign 5 feet behind the sidewalk, that's still visible from the road. Does that mean something like that might be helpful? Just
Yeah.
maybe a slightly larger sign that just says.
The
park-
problem with
dog
that
park.
is a lot of that is on private property and we
Yeah.
don't have an easement for all of it.
I understand that, but that might be negotiable.
And a branded sign, meaning our signs for all of our parks have the same font, color,
Yeah.
size, shape. I think something that will catch people's eye. So again, I think a designer would help us with that, but with everything looking the same, you can easily look at it and go, oh, that's a sign for a park, turn here.
Yeah, totally.
Okay. Well, there you have it. That concludes our old business.
Can I go back? I'm sorry.
Yep.
One more thing. Well, you sent me 145 pages. I read
Yeah.
that.
Well, and then Wally did it the smart way and just took out the one piece, but yeah.
I looked at that, but then I kind of looked into kind of the background document. So did we ever talk about the formation of a park district here? I know it's in the appendices.
Not officially, it's
Not
just
officially.
part of the, potential 20-year plan.
Of an option. Okay, so we haven't really discussed that, which is basically you're kind of forming almost a tax base
Yeah.
to fund parks, which I know won't go over well in this climate. but-
We currently do have a Parks SDC.
Yeah,
So any
yeah.
new
New
development that comes
development.
in does have to pay for the Parks SDC. So that is, but it can only be put toward new
yeah.
parks or new amenities to parks.
Yeah.
It can't go to maintaining current parks.
Yeah.
So,
And do we have any new developments in the work with larger chunks of land?
yeah, we have
And-
a few subdivisions.
I think we talked about this before. Are there requirements for them to put in
Was it Blair? told
green
us?
spaces and things like that?
So it's not a requirement, but it is an encouragement. So there is one going in a subdivision. Right now, they're only doing 5 lots, and then they'll have a large remainder lot over by Samaritan. There is talk at another phase of actually putting some sort of green space with a trail system, since they're right along Wiley Creek. Part of
Okay.
it goes along Wiley Creek. So it's something that we can encourage, and it's something that some of the developers are willing to look at. There's another very large subdivision that will be 4-phased. That's right at the edge of our UGB. And they are also willing to look at putting a park in.
Which side?
South, it's 40 Coulter Lane,
Coulter
which is
Lane.
45th and Coulter, I think, down in that way.
And those developers have already told us they're open to the idea of putting in green space and parks. The negative to that is sometimes they ask for an offset on SDCs. So they give us a park or a green space, but then maybe they don't pay as much on the park SDC side. So
They-
it kind
they
of
get
is a
credit,
wash.
Yeah.
That's what I was wondering, if they get an offset or a tax credit. And so then weighing that, what are you getting? That's not just cash, are they actually doing a development?
Yeah, we haven't had, none of the development in those two have started yet.
Okay.
And so it's, and both of them will be phased. And so it may not be in the first phase. The one that's down at Coulter Lane does have wetland. And so they will probably use some of the wetland area as the green space. What it looks like yet, don't know. And
Yeah.
what it looks like over by Samaritan, I don't know yet. We've just been in talks with them, encouraging some sort of green space.
Yeah.
So, and both of them have wetland slash,
Mhm.
natural resource zone overlays. So it would be very easy for them to incorporate some of the areas that they
Is it
would
gonna
be
be
more difficult
apartments
to
or
develop.
houses?
What was that?
Is it going to be apartments or houses?
The one at Samaritan is going to be just adding on to their senior living housing.
Okay.
So it'll be more like the cottage cluster type thing. The Coulter, as far as I know, I mean, we haven't gotten any building plans for them yet. I think it's going to be single family dwellings. They do have an option though in those zones to do duplexes on any lot here in Sweet Home. So there is that potential that they could do some duplexes down there also. So
The only thing I would be concerned about is post green space installation. How do they maintain it for the next few years?
and that is a plan that they have to have, whether they have an HOA that has
Right.
to do it, whether they turn it over to the city as city project. So there's a whole lot of different options, and until we get to that phase, we won't.
Yeah. I just remember that being a problem in several other places that I've talked to people on.
Yeah, so it all depends on how that's worked through, whether
Yeah.
there's an easement to the city or dedicated over to the city, or they do an HOA. I mean, either
Yeah.
way, there's a requirement for one or the other.
Right.
So,
Okay. All right. So let's move on to new business. Ames Creek Project.
so that one is not one that the Park and Tree Committee was involved in, but just to bring you up to speed, there is a project that, and Greg can probably talk to this a little too, that we are doing, not really in partnership with DEQ, in partnership with the South San Diego Watershed Council, as a DEQ project for water quality. We had to choose a place to do some restoration work, and it looks like we're going to be doing from Weddle Bridge east for a section, just doing some bank restoration. I just put in for a grant to help subsidize part of this. It's a project that we have to do, and so it's not one that it's totally separate from any kind of park project. It's a water quality project. But just to make you guys aware that there may be work in Sankey Park on the school side of the bridge there, some restoration work.
Blackberry eradication. Remember when we went down
Yeah,
and looked up at
Yeah.
the banks?
that's horrible.
Yeah, so this is a DEQ project that we're involved in, and we've looped in the South San Diego Watershed Council because that's their expertise. So just waiting to find out if we're going to get this green infrastructure grant and to see how we're going to pull the trigger. So
Speaking of that, for Dominic, when we get to the kids outdoor hour that they get to go work again this next year, we would like them again.
2 hours.
Yeah. And lots of them, because that worked out really, really well. They were really motivated and did well. So just, if that hadn't been communicated before you ask, the answers, please. Yeah, that was awesome. So phase 3, Sankey, 90% engineer complete.
yes, and hopefully, well, we have a couple more weeks for the end of this year, but they recently just sent me an email, say they're working on the final comments that they got from us, from staff. They will be submitting the 100% plus a little bit of a but like costs. So once I get that, I will bring that to the committee just for you guys to review, so you can take a look at and see what the final design looks like. They did a really good job because the path paving was going to cost a lot of money.
Yeah.
And so they were able to find ways to where we didn't have so many switchbacks, but it's still going to be ADA compliant, working on the amphitheater seating, the lighting, and then the sidewalk coming down. So they did a really good job kind of incorporating, plus designing it to leave space for the bandstand / community event center. So there will still be a reserve space, and this will all meander around it. So we won't have to worry about interrupting that
Right.
once we find a design for that. So
Yep.
it will all be designed to still be able to put that in. So hopefully by January meeting, I might have some site plans for you guys to look at.
Good.
So
Okay, thank you. Does anybody have any others that they brought for the meeting specifically? So I just want to point out, as we end the year, December, I think that with Public Works, excellent work in the parks and the things that were done, this has been a most successful year
Yep.
for the parks across the board.
Yep. Good
I'm-
job, you guys.
Yeah, I've been stoked. The people are using it like crazy. Sankey Park constantly has people in it. I'm amazed. The dog park down at Northside is, as Angela said, there's always somebody there with the dog. I didn't think it would get that much use, and it's getting more than I thought it would have. And that's been a big surprise to me. And we've gotten a lot of, well, I get a lot of, when I talk to people about it, there's good comments about the parks
Mhm.
in Sweet Home. So, and even the one down on 42nd that everybody flipped out over, they seem to have,
Accepted it.
yeah, they're starting to go, okay, well, maybe this won't be such a bad idea.
Mhm.
And I really think they were more concerned about the family housing elements going in than they were about having an actual park. Once they understood it wasn't a Sankey Park level park going in, you know, where they didn't think it was a destination for everybody in Western Oregon. It's like, no, it's a basketball court maybe and a few swings and something like that to climb on. So I think that was a big success and really want to thank you guys for the work done.
Thank you.
It's been a great year.
Not too many leaves this year, right?
So the other thing with the year ending, we're come to a point that we have to say goodbye to
Oh,
our city council representative for our park and tree, Mr. Dave Trask. You've been a pleasure to work with.
yeah. I'm crying.
You've been a pleasure to work with. No, it's been a lot of fun and you've definitely brought a lot of humor, perspective, and I'll just call it extreme motivation to get things done.
Yep.
Your willingness to wait on something to happen has not been seen in my time here. It's like, let's do it. Let's do it now. It's a good idea. Right, wrong, or indifferent, let's go. And
Right.
it's unfortunate I have the same thought process. So I hate to see things wait and doodle, but as I've found out a lot of the time, we do need to wait and doodle a little while sometimes and communicate to get things across. But Dave, it's been a pleasure. We got you.
Sure.
We got a little card for you and a little something in there to say thank you for your time and efforts working with us. We know all of us are a pain in the butt, and but we really appreciate what you've done. So thank you. Anybody else want to say something to him?
15 minutes.
I have something to say.
But no, I can't do tomorrow. It's kinda-
I'd like to say something to Mr. Trask. I'm going to cry. Darn it. I've been with him for a long time. Even Angela, when she was on the Parks Board and stuff, he has always encouraged us to go for it. He does tell us when to wait. He tells us when we can move forward, tells us when we can spend the money, when we can't spend the money. And he's always been an encourager. Thank you for always being here for us. I don't know about some of the other council people, but for you serving on this committee has been absolutely wonderful. And I thank you from the bottom of my heart. Tyson, when he was a little tyke, remember that? He thanks you from the bottom of his heart. He's a big kid now. And I wish you the very best, Mr. Trask.
We're still,
You're not gonna start crying, are you?
he's still going to come out and help us dig holes for trees. Yeah. Yeah. We have your number.
There's a spot on the board if you want it. Down the road.
No, there's not right now.
Not right now. Is it down the road?
This is one of the boards we actually have all people now.
Yeah.
Nice.
Well, anyways, Dave, thank you.
Mhm.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dave.
I have one last roundtable.
Go
Sorry.
ahead.
Last thing before I forget, Tree City USA. filing paperwork? Do you need anything? Help.
I asked for an extension because we lost our reporting system. We lost with all the turnover. So we're still trying to figure out, Rebecca is helping me try to figure out some of the, how to document some of it. We did used to have a system that I could just pull reports and we don't. So Sean and Brian were handwriting some stuff. And so we're going to catch up. We're going to look at the last. So I did ask the forester if we could have a little bit of an extension to try to pull all this together because it's been a task.
Okay.
So I will let you know what she says. So,
And well, if you need help,
okay.
let us know.
Okay.
And with that,
I would also like to thank Greg and you guys for all of your hard work. I know that you're short-staffed, and you guys are too. We're all aware of that, and trust me, I think about all of you all the time, but thank you for all of your work, and every time I see you around town, you're still smiling, no matter what you face. I always wave and give you a thumbs up. So thank you for all of your hard work and your dedication to this city. I really appreciate it. And Angela and Adam, you too. Thank you.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
and I just ask you public work guys, when you wave back, use all your fingers at me now.
And on that note, also, I would like to thank the committee. You guys are very active. And we get a lot of stuff done. And so it is, yes, sometimes I have to say, Wally, take a breath, pause for a minute. But I would rather have to do that than try to say, hey, let's get motivated. So I appreciate everything that you guys do to help staff. You guys do a lot of behind the scenes that nobody sees. And so as a person that was once on this board and knows, I appreciate everything that you guys do and all of the stuff you get behind and talk to the community about. So we wouldn't be as successful as we are without you all. So thank you.
Hey,
Hey, Wally, could I say something really quick?
sure.
So, well, as I mentioned earlier, and as you probably are all pretty much aware already, my circumstances have changed dramatically in the last month. When I applied to be on the board, or I mean on this commission, I should say, committee, I was not involved at all in journalism, and that obviously has changed. There's, ethical concerns about, being involved in the government, in city government, even in an advisory way, as well as, and being the journalist who covers the city. I think I can continue. I mean, I actually am not that concerned about it, but I'm just going to let you know that, and this is something that used to happen with SHARE, because I was involved in the SHARE committee for a long time. I would just tell them that anything that we talk about in the meeting will be, nothing will ever, I'll never cover anything out of the meeting as a journalist. We'll have a conversation afterwards if that, if that's necessary. So I have two roles. In a small town, this is not unusual. We're in a small community here where it's hard to completely disengage, which is what you kind of want to do as a journalist, is just be neutral and, not be part of the thing. But I have a lot of interest in this area, in recreation and, that sort of thing. So parks. And so I still want to be involved, and I will be involved. And so, like I said, we'll just always have a conversation afterwards, and it'll probably be someone besides myself who will be having that conversation. So, and if I show up, if we Arbor Day, I'll probably take the pictures, but I won't be necessarily writing the story. That way I can keep myself disengaged as a citizen from what I'm doing. So I just mentioned that just so everybody's clear on how I'm gonna have to operate with this new complication in my life. I'm actually not unhappy about it necessarily, but so
Great. Thank you. And
Thank you.
I'm really glad to have you on here as somebody, because they put the Park and Tree Committee together. Park and Tree were separated, and they put them together. So we have tree experts, as in my mind, we have park people that have been here forever, but we haven't focused on trails a lot. So having somebody that has a passion for trails will help us drive things that will drive Public Works nuts more with things that we'd like to get done.
Well, I definitely have a passion for it. I know a lot of other people who have passions for it. So, yeah, so hopefully we can provide some helpful input.
Yep.
And maybe even help get things moving.
Yeah.
Because
Sounds
I'm
great.
kind of a person who likes to get things moving. So, you know, I've never written grants, but hey, I have writing abilities. So,
Yes. Yes. All right. Thank you. I'm glad to have you on the committee.
yeah, thanks.
All right. Well. Well, I will say that concludes our December 18th, 2024 Park and Tree Committee. Thank you.